Alright guys, so now that our HTML file is done and also our PHP file is complete, let's go ahead and create the last file that we need, the heart of AJAX, the JavaScript file. So go ahead, File, New, and we'll just go ahead and save this as, I'll save it as foodstore.js, and go ahead and save it, and make sure that you save it as whatever you link to right here in your HTML file. So hold on, got an itch in my ear. Oh yes, that felt so good. Alright, so now what we need to do, the first thing that I recommend always doing is storing your object in an easy to use variable, because this object is kind of has a long name. So I'm just going to go ahead and store it in XML HTTP, and go ahead and set this equal to create XML HTTP request object. Now this is actually a function name, and we're going to be building this function right now. Now, first of all, why do we need this variable to hold this object? Well, the XML HTTP request object, which we're going to be getting in the function that we're going to be building, this is the awesome object that allows you to communicate with the server without having to refresh the page. So this is basically the most important object in AJAX, so that's what we're going to be doing right now. So let's go ahead and create a function, and this was the function right here. This function right here, and it's not going to take any parameters. So basically the job of this function is to pretty much get this object and store it in this variable right here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to say what variable we're working with. Copy, paste, and then later on we can set this equal to something, but for right now the first thing we want to do is I want to explain this. First of all, Internet Explorer is gay, or I shouldn't say that, it's politically incorrect. Internet Explorer is retarded. So they do things differently, and not in a good way. They always do things differently in a bad way. So the very first thing we need to do in order to use AJAX, for all the people, the idiots using Internet Explorer, we need to make sure that AJAX works for them. So this is how you set your XML HTTP variable equal to the object that Internet Explorer uses. So the very first thing you want to test is if window dot active X object. Now this is only going to be true if they're running Internet Explorer. So basically if this is true, then it means the user is running Internet Explorer. So what do we want to do now? Well, what we want to do is try to set this variable, let me just go ahead and copy this, set this variable equal to new active X object, and as a parameter you go ahead and put this in double quotation marks, Microsoft.xmlHttp. So basically this is how you set this variable equal to an object if the user has Internet Explorer, and if not, then you can just go ahead and catch all your errors and just go ahead and set it equal to false. And we want to set it equal to something just so it returns something. So set this equal to false. So this, of course, if they're running Internet Explorer and they can't even set the variable equal to something, then they should probably just go out and buy a new computer. So basically remember that I said that this if block right here is testing, or pretty much setting this variable equal to the object, and this is the object that is behind the heart of AJAX if they have Internet Explorer. Else, and we need the else block because hopefully this is the bit of code that runs, because hopefully they're on another browser, hopefully Google Chrome. So let's just go ahead and copy this try because I'm lazy. So this is what happens if they're on Firefox or Google Chrome. Obviously we don't keep this right here because this is only for Internet Explorer. What we want to do is set this equal to a new XML HTTP request, and this is actually a built-in function, so we don't need to code this ourselves. this is how you should properly set this variable. But basically, if they have Internet Explorer, this is how you set the variable equal to the object. If not, then this object is the one we want to use. And remember, like I said, this is going to be set equal to the variable in this line right here, and this is the object that's responsible for communicating with PHP or communicating with the XML behind the scenes that the user doesn't see. So now go ahead out of your if-else statement, and what we want to test is basically if that was set to false. So how can we do that? Well, we can go ahead and say if not XML. So basically, whenever you set a variable equal to this object, it's going to return true if it did it successfully. If not, it's going to return false, or if you had one of these errors, it's going to return false. So basically, if you couldn't set the object, then we just go ahead and get an alert just to let the user know that, hey, something's wrong. And we'll just say, can't create that object, Haas. So hopefully they never see that. And else, if you could do it successfully, then we just run a return XMLHttp. And why do we want to return it? Because remember, in this very first line, before we start coding that function, we set the variable equal to this object this function right here. So of course this function needs a return statement, or else this variable wouldn't be equal to anything. So basically that's the very first function, and you're going to have this function in all of your AJAX programs. So make sure that you pretty much only have to code this one time, and I'm going to be only coding this one time, but for the rest of these tutorials, all of the AJAX functions, all of the AJAX programs are going to use this function right here. So congratulations, you probably did the most important thing in AJAX. Now we can go ahead and get to the good stuff, which is, making everything work in the background and communicating with the server. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and in the next tutorial we're going to be coding some more awesome functions.